Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching the video on StreamYard that's posted on Twitter, or if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, YouTube. Please like, subscribe, give 5 stars, do all the things that anyone that makes podcasts would like you to do. It's greatly appreciated. And to return the favor, I might as well offer a promo code. So if you want to, all lines quoted on this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. It's my favorite place to get my bets down early. You also get reduced juice. It's offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. Follow the link found in the podcast description below to fund your account and use the promo code GW50, Griffin Warner 50, to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. I mean, free money that you get to then extend and throw some parlays on, throw some futures out there. You get to multiply it quite a bit. Go get you some money and find maybe a new place to wager. It's always good to have as many outs as possible. I urge you, if you have a local book or you're in one of the legalized states, to try to get as much as you can, because every dollar, every cent matters in this game where we're trying to beat 53%. So without further ado, I'm going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues for this podcast. It's a little bit later on Friday, but things run into each other. And we're going to start with the Premier League and give a best bet for each of the leagues, and then an ultimate best bet end of show. So stick around for that. Use the promo code GW50 on that link below in the podcast. But here we go. Leeds host Bournemouth, first match on Saturday in the English Premier League. Leeds a 3/4 goal favorite. And I don't really understand how Leeds can be priced this way. They've been playing so poorly. Yes, they have a good home crowd. Yes, they have an intense manager. But Jesse Marsch is unfortunately kind of going down the same little walk that he went down at Red Bull Leipzig, except he lasted not very long there, probably shorter time than he did so far in this job at Leeds. But things have been going very well for him. Patrick Bamford is a shell of himself up front, and they need to score goals, especially to cover this spread, but ultimately stay in the league. I don't see where they come from, unfortunately. They've been dealing with some injuries, but selling off Rafinha to Barcelona was a loss that they just haven't been able to replace. On the other side, Bournemouth, a terrible collapse, and I really think it's down to the manager and his decision making. Tottenham are really good at corners, scored 2 of them, but ultimately got 19 in a match that Bournemouth led 2-0 early in the second half, and they couldn't even cover as a 3/4 goal underdog. Fortunately, only lost by a single goal, but brutal. Hard to get off the mat from that. They've had a week to suck on it and to suck their teeth, to feel terrible about it, all that sort of stuff. I do think that means we're going to get a really good effort from Bournemouth, but they're going to need it going on the road in a really tough place to play. I still like Bournemouth getting 3/4 of a goal at +1. It's definitely on my card. At 3/4, it's still a lot higher than I made it, so it probably makes it anyway. Next, we'll go Manchester City hosting Fulham. Man City, a 2.5 goal favorite. Fulham are going to probably play on the front foot because they've done it all season, and doing that at the Emirates does not really seem, or at the Etihad, excuse me. So many Middle Eastern airlines, so little time. Wherever they're playing, it's Man City's crowd. They're singing a dumb song right before kickoff, and Fulham are going to go in there and probably going to try to get a 1-1 draw. I don't really like that strategy. I think they really need to try to play as compactly as possible and try to make it as hard on City to score, because the City cut back into the center of the box is a goal every time, it feels like. Maybe no Haaland for this matchup. I imagine he's probably going to rest until after the World Cup. That's just my theory. I haven't read any reports anywhere. But even without him out, I don't think Fulham +2.5 is worth the risk. Nottingham Forest then host Brentford, currently a pick'em. Most of the juice on Brentford on the road. And Nottingham Forest, I mean, with a great win against Liverpool, huge upset, big for them, trying to stay in the league. They're ultimately going to be fighting against it. I think there were favorites to be relegated, and not much has changed from that standpoint, besides with 3 points against Liverpool. Brentford are still not an offense I really trust too well. Their defense has been poor compared to last year, but they're getting healthier, so that's helping. I think if Nottingham Forest move to a 1/4 goal underdog, I will look at them pretty closely. But until then, I'm not sure. I also like, I guess, under 2.5. I feel like there's not a lot of goals in this one. A lot of really kind of I think goals is a very real possibility. So 2.5 goals as the total seems a little bit high to me. Wolves then host Brighton. Currently, Wolves a quarter goal underdog at home. Speaking of teams who can't score, I honestly have no reason to trust them. And they've been trying to kind of sacrifice their defense to get more offense, and that's not really working. Still don't know what's going on with their caretaker manager, or if they finally hired somebody. It's like ridiculous that a Premier League team hasn't had. I guess they're getting turned down a lot, probably because a lot of people don't want to go down and have that on their resume. But I mean, I'd take the payout if I were them. But that's up to them, I guess. And I guess Brighton, I mean, coming off a really good performance against Chelsea, kind of unexpected. I don't know that we can see that happening again here. I think it's fairly unlikely they play that well. But I don't think Wolves are a team I can back until I have some sort of faith in them, either defensively or offensively, and I have none of that so far. Everton then hosts Leicester in the nightcap on Saturday. Everton a quarter goal favorite, but all the juice on Leicester on the road. And Leicester have been playing a lot better. I mean, they couldn't have really started the year worse, I got to say, but their goal scoring has come out of the woodwork. I still wonder if Maddison and maybe even Vardy and Tielemans most likely will move in the January window after the World Cup, but we're not there yet. There's a lot of World Cup and of course a couple of match days to play beforehand. But I like Leicester getting that quarter from Everton. I just don't trust Everton to score. They have a great crowd, but that doesn't put the ball in the back of the net. It feels like Everton's goals are fortunate, fluky, lucky, if you will. I just don't trust Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's nowhere near the player he was a couple seasons ago, maybe due to injury, but maybe also not having a better supporting cast around him. Moving to Sunday, Chelsea hosts Arsenal, currently a pick'em straight down the line, which is saying something because Chelsea are so good at home. I think Arsenal have overplayed their talent so far in leading the Premier League. I think it's a lot due to a really, really soft schedule. But Chelsea, and they got to miss that Man City match when they rescheduled PSV. So, man, I just, this seems like you are buying really high for backing Arsenal here, and it makes me lean to Chelsea. I doubt that they're going to move to a quarter goal underdog at home. So the options for me are to back Chelsea at that pick'em number, which the juice isn't so bad, but I would like to win on a draw. And I'm not sure that number will get there. If it does, I think I'll be on the Blues. Aston Villa then hosts Manchester United, the first match for Unai Emery. Aston Villa, a quarter goal underdog at home. Manchester United with most of the juice right now. United had a good performance on the road at Real Sociedad in San Sebastian or Donostia, but it wasn't enough for them to win the group. And they did use a lot of their important players, important pieces. Other than taking Lindelof early, everyone kind of played throughout because they needed a 2-goal win and only got one. I don't know how that affects their legs in this one. I do think that Unai Emery is going to park the bus and force Manchester United to try to create. He's had a lot of success with that before at previous stops, like Villarreal. I don't know that I like Aston Villa's defense enough, even in a very, very congested penalty area. I feel like ultimately, if you're getting a quarter of a goal, you really want to either be betting against a team that you think really struggles, which Manchester United have been playing a lot better lately, and I think Ten Hag has been doing a lot for that. Or you want a team that you think can score, and I don't have any faith in the Aston Villa offense. Southampton then hosts Newcastle. Southampton a half a goal underdog at home. Newcastle probably the darling of the league right now, playing far above expectations. Southampton is a little bit of a feisty home underdog. I mean, on the road they are. I mean, good luck with Southampton on the road because they don't really have good goal scoring. Their defense is problematic for sure, but they do play a lot better when people are singing Saints go marching in all match, and that's a big deal. It's also a little bit different of a glorified air for Newcastle being a half a goal favorite on the road. You haven't seen that a lot for years now. But it reflects how Newcastle have been playing, the points they've been earning, grabbing, all the words about taking points. And I guess, I mean, I lean to Southampton as the home underdog, but I feel like Newcastle has done enough that I'm still a little bit weary of going against them, even on the road as a favorite when they're not used to that. West Ham then hosts Crystal Palace. Currently, West Ham a half a goal favorite. I think this is one of the bigger London derbies. I don't know if it's just based on circumstance and who's in the league, because I think West Ham is more into Millwall, Crystal Palace. I'm not sure exactly, but ultimately West Ham, they're an offense that is giving a half of a goal that I don't trust. They're solid defensively. I probably more solid defensively than Crystal Palace are. But both have real trouble scoring. I think the half a goal, I lean that way in Crystal Palace. I just worry that a 1-0 result is a very likely type of scoreline, whether it's for Crystal Palace getting that one goal or West Ham taking that 1-goal lead and then really shutting down shop and making it really hard on a Crystal Palace offense that isn't very efficient. So I think I lean under 2.25 as opposed to the half of a goal on Crystal Palace in that one. And last but not least, Tottenham, a quarter goal home dog to Liverpool. Doesn't look like Son's going to play in this matchup as he has a fractured orbital bone. Really tough break. Might miss the World Cup as well. I imagine he'll try to fight his way into that team, but very, very sad nonetheless. Liverpool with a good win midweek against Napoli, but we're behind. Fortunately, got bailed out by an offside call. Got a really fortunate goal late, and then an add-on even after that. I'm looking forward to going against Liverpool as much as I can. I think the cat's out of the bag. They just aren't a good defensive team. They're too old. They're too injured. And I think those things kind of run together where they're not going to get all of a sudden younger and healthier. I don't think they're going to invest a lot in the transfer window. But anyway, just in terms of this matchup, Tottenham are going to sit back and going to restrict space and try to counterattack, whether they have Son or not. I don't know Richarlison's status, nor do I know Kulusevski, but I think Kulu is probably a little bit closer to playing this weekend. That does zap some of the counterattacking fire, if you will, or certainly the pace. I still trust Harry Kane to set up his teammates as the Chris Paul of center forwards, but Liverpool, I don't think that they should be a road favorite. So Tottenham getting that quarter at home is of great interest to me. So best bet for England. I do like Bournemouth getting that 3/4. Also, I guess the under 2.75 is interesting, though leads certainly are very scary to play any sort of under with. Skip Fulham, nothing new on Nottingham Forest yet. Skip Wolves. I do like Leicester getting that quarter. On the road, it's going to be a tough spot at Everton, and it's a lot of juice at the moment. Chelsea, I'm leaning that way if it moves up. Aston Villa, I don't think I can touch. Southampton, I like a little bit, but I'm weary of Newcastle, as I said a little bit earlier. I do like that under 2.25 for the Crystal Palace match. I think the best bet for me, though, is Tottenham getting a quarter at home. I love home dogs. I feel like they've been barking quite a bit this year. And the draw at home won't be satisfactory for either of the teams, but it wins half of your stake. So I'm very interested in Tottenham on Sunday in the nightcap. Next, we move to Spanish La Liga. We have a match Friday. Girona hosting Athletic Club. Currently, Girona a half a goal underdog at home, which is saying something because Athletic Club they started off the year really well, but it has not gone as well since then. And they have to go on the road. They're a little bit better of an offense this year. I feel like their defense has been a lot worse than we're used to. They still want to play that counterattacking style, but that makes it hard for them to go cover spreads on the road. And certainly they only need one goal here, potentially, if Girona are kept clean, but that's also not a guarantee. So it's more likely, especially with an over-under of 2.5, that Athletic Club need 2 goals to cover. And I'm not sure that they get that. Girona have been playing a little bit better lately. I think had a really awesome historic result at Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, last weekend. So I like Girona quite a bit, getting that half of a goal. Moving to Saturday, Getafe hosting Cadiz. Currently, Getafe a quarter goal favorite at home. I'm struggling with, I don't know if I pronounce the G or not. Girona, I know I do the G. Getafe, they say Vamos Geta. I guess it's Getafe. I don't know that Getafe deserve to be a favorite to many teams right now. They had a good win on Monday at Elche. But Cadiz only getting a quarter on the road the market is saying that they really like Cadiz in this one, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Over under is 2, so there's not a lot of goals expected in that one, but that's a really, really small total. Could see goalless though, for sure. Valladolid then hosts Elche. Valladolid a half a goal favorite with all the juice right now, maybe climbing to 3/4. That's a different perspective for Valladolid. They've not been getting that much respect in a match probably since they were in the Segunda División last season. Elche are the worst team in the league, though, have miraculously stayed in for a while, but a lot of that was due to good results, kind of surprising ones. They've not really had a lot of luck this year. I do like them a little bit more as this climbs to 3/4 of a goal, but I don't think it gets to a full +1. That might be a buy point for me, but the under 2.5 I do like quite a bit. Celta de Vigo then hosts Osasuna. Celta a quarter goal favorite with all the juice, and they have not been playing well. I don't know if it's Iago Aspas' age and that's becoming a problem. He seems to be a lot more invisible this year, maybe because they also sold off a lot of players. Bryce Mendes went to Real Sociedad. They also had others leaving. They have one player, I want to say Fran Beltran, who's just sitting out or Maybe it's Suarez, Dennis Suarez, someone with a contract issue because his agent sold off a young player from Celta de Vigo to the Real Madrid camp, and so now Celta is just banning a current player on their roster from playing because they don't like his agent. I mean, that tells me there's some real petty stuff in European football, but they're fighting the good fight, I guess, and it's unfortunately really affecting the team. Osasuna on the other side, they added a lot of offensive players from a pretty defense only side last season. Got off to a great start, kind of wobbled around since then, but have been a little bit of an uptick lately. And I think that they're playing, I mean, by default, better than Celta Vigo, and looks like they might even be a half a goal underdog by the time this kicks off. So I like that. I like that side potentially to get a draw on the road and win a full bet. Barcelona then hosts Almeria. Barcelona, a 2.75 goal favorite. What would this team be without Robert Lewandowski? I mean, they are so bad defensively. I don't know that I really have a lot of trust in them, but and especially not at 2.75 goal favorites. I mean, I don't know what type of number I need on Almeria, and this certainly suggests that there's a blowout here. But Almeria are going to be tough. They're going to, I mean, they do have some offensive players that can get behind Barcelona. I mean, anyone can really puncture the Barcelona back line. I lean to Almeria. I just think this number is monstrous, and I don't really agree with it. Maybe it falls to 2.5, but I still feel like still too big. Sunday we have Atletico Madrid hosting Espanyol, calling Atleti a 1-goal favorite. And I don't really trust them. They had a really tough, I mean, crash out of all of Europe, I think, based on their midweek result. As a 1-goal favorite, they got to win by 2. They struggle so much to beat really bad teams at home. Espanyol probably fit into that qualification as they're not a very good team. They had a good result last weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And I love Jose Lu up front, but he doesn't get a lot of service. So the real question is how Espanyol score. Atleti probably get 1 at least. But the nice part is you push on a 1-0 final score. So I do like Espanyol getting that +1. Under 2.25 looks a little bit interesting. It probably is climbing to 2.5 before kickoff. Lean that way as well. Real Sociedad then hosts Valencia. Currently Sociedad a half a goal favorite at home. A little bit more of the juice on Valencia. Valencia are good, and they're playing better under Gattuso, but ultimately they're young and they are still rebuilding, while Real Sociedad are certainly confident and really happy about being group winners and getting that crucial bye in the Europa League. Though it was a loss against Manchester United, which is a little weird to be celebrating after you lose, but it is what it is. Sociedad, they have been missing a lot of their strike partners. Didn't score against Real Betis. It was a close game throughout, and then Betis got a couple late goals, but didn't score against Manchester United. Didn't really have a ton of threats. I guess David De Gea was a great goalkeeper that day, so maybe that's part of why they didn't score. But 2 in a row with no goals. Playing Sorloth and Carlos Fernandez, who haven't played together besides those 2 matches that I just mentioned, and clearly don't really work together very well. Maybe that changes, but I doubt it. So I lean to Valencia again, that half of a goal. Going into Sociedad with better rested legs. There's always concerns with Valencia, and their center defensive midfielders and center backs just make some really physical challenges that unfortunately put them in the book too often, and sometimes off the pitch too often. But I lean to that half. Villarreal then hosts Mallorca. I'm sorry, Villarreal, I mean, have been on a nosedive ever since maybe they got wind of rumors that Unai Emery was going to Newcastle, though that had been, or excuse me, not to Newcastle, that was the last rumor, to Aston Villa, that unfortunately had been around clearly to Newcastle last year. But they started the year off so well and really crushed the Conference League and used backup lineups for those type of competitions, or those matches in that competition. But it hasn't fixed anything. And now Villarreal are a 1-goal favorite to Mallorca, who are going to sit in and defend every inch of space around that box. 5-4-1 probably, with Marici as their target man for headers, set pieces, corner kicks, crosses into the box from Kang In Lee. I mean, I really love Mallorca right now as a counter-attacking side, and especially with that full goal of insurance. It's very juiced right now, and I don't want to lose that. Also have some interest in under 2.25. If I do lose that +1, that's not exactly the same bet, but it feels pretty similar. I think a 1-1 final is pretty likely if Mallorca get on the board. I don't really see Villarreal getting more than a goal unless they get something late, or of course the penalty machines always come out in La Liga. Real Betis then hosts Sevilla in El Gran Derby. Big matchup in the town of Sevilla in southern Spain and Andalusia. Beautiful place you haven't been. I went last year and I saw both these teams in their home matches. This should be a nuts environment in the Benito Villamarin. Easy for me to say. Betis currently a half a goal favorite. All the juice on Sevilla on the road. This was a quarter early in the week, and clearly some money's come in on Real Betis, but that's based on Sevilla being so poor this season and then losing in Champions League midweek to Manchester City. They were, I think, took a lead and were very competitive, but didn't hang around for too long. And I just don't want to back them. So nothing more to say about that one. No real lean on the total other than, I guess, under, if anything. And last but not least, on Monday, we have Rayo Vallecano hosting Real Madrid. Currently, Rayo, a 1-goal underdog with all the juice at home. Not sure about the status for Karim Benzema, but he came off the bench, which was completely unnecessary against Celtic. I don't know why you would do that unless you're trying to work in and get his minutes back up. So maybe he starts in this one. If he does, I imagine this line climbs quite a bit. Rayo seemed to be getting a lot of respect, only getting a full goal of insurance, which seems like a lot at home, but still it's not a lot from a team like Real Madrid. Rayo are going to restrict space. It's a really small pitch. They're going to try to counterattack. And I lean that way, if anything, but I think I need a lot more than just that +1 and under 2 3/4 seems nice, but Real Madrid can run up the score pretty easily. So I don't know. Best bet for Spain. I like Girona today on Friday. Cadiz, I like that under 2 if I had to pick something from that matchup. Elche, I like a little bit if it climbs higher, but under 2.5 I think is more useful. Osasuna, I want to get a half on that one, but I do like the quarter. Like Almeria getting 2 3/4. I like a lot in this league, apparently. I had a pretty good weekend in Spain last weekend, but Espanyol +1 at Plati, I think are worth a look, as are Valencia getting a half from Real Sociedad. Mallorca +1 at Villarreal I like. Going to skip Sevilla, so there's one I'm not interested in. And then I do like Rayo, but I think it's a little too short. For my best bet, I'm going to go Mallorca +1 at Villarreal in Spain. Moving now to Serie A. Udinese hosting Lecce. Currently, Udinese a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. This is a Friday matchup, and it might hit the full goal. No guarantees here, but maybe. Udinese have been off to a great start this season. New manager came in, has installed an offense. They've always been good defensively. De La Feu is just a great player, and I think he should be in that Spanish national team. Lecce, on the other hand, they started off the year and they've been really competitive, but unfortunately, I've been backing them a lot lately, and the goals from Strafeza seem to come, but if he's not doing it, I don't know who's scoring. Cisse a little bit, but I think I need that full goal of insurance to even consider this one. And the way Udinese have been putting the ball in the net, I just don't know that 2.5. I mean, I guess it feels a little bit large, but for a total. But I think Lecce, I need that +1, and I guess I lean under, if anything. Empoli then hosts Sassuolo. Currently, Empoli a pick'em. All the juice on Sassuolo on the road, and Empoli are in a tough spot right now. I got to say, they've not been playing well. Last year they scored a lot of goals. This year, and they're not doing it. Defense, they kind of had some players poached. Their goalkeeper is basically keeping them alive. Whether they're alive or not, I'm not exactly sure. Not much for me to do at Pick'em. Salernitana then hosts Cremonese, big battle of possible relegation contenders. Salernitana on a 1/4 of a goal, but favor right now. But with all the juice, maybe it climbs to a half. I just don't know that Cremonese are really that competitive. I kind of like them for a little while, and they're getting some strong lines for a minute. But I feel like we're heading back in a direction where the market doesn't really believe in them, and I don't necessarily either. Atalanta then hosts Napoli. Atalanta, a 1/4 goal underdog at home, which faded Napoli seems really scary, but a little bit of luster came off with that loss at Liverpool. Didn't really have a lot to play for once they kind of knew they weren't going to lose by a considerable margin. They're going to keep the group winner tag in Champions League. But ultimately, Kvaratskhelia seems to be out this weekend based on some reports I saw on Twitter. That's not great because what that team really is it's Osimhen and his speed, but it's also a lot of setups from the wing from Kvaratskhelia. And if he's not there, you certainly have Politano on the right side, who's really, really talented and scary. But I think he kind of feeds off the big threat that comes in from the left side with the Georgian national. Lean to Atalanta getting that 1/4 at home. I think it's going to be a wide open game, a lot of goals, so maybe 2 3/4 over would be of interest. And I'm surprising because I've liked every under so far pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one necessarily. AC Milan then hosts Spezia. Currently AC Milan a 1 3/4 goal favorite. Spezia just are not really backable at this point. They look like a team that might go down. Luca Galti there their manager. I really liked him at Udinese, but I don't like him at Spezia. It doesn't seem to be working. It's not really taking. And Milan, they've shown they don't really do well in Champions League, but they can crush teams in Serie A, and they come off of good midweek results. They should be flying in this one. Moving to Sunday, Bologna hosting Torino. Bologna, a quarter goal underdog at home with lots of juice. I mean, it's basically a pick 'em. I don't know why BetOnline hasn't moved down as we speak. But Torino have been playing better. They've been getting a lot of respect lately. Bologna have not been playing well. They've not been getting a ton of respect. So I think that says all it needs to say. I don't really have a lean in that one. Monza then hosts Verona. Monza, a quarter goal favorite to Verona, which is crazy to see a newly promoted side favored to a team that's been around for a while. But ultimately, Verona have been really struggling. Luck has certainly not been on their side, but I think that only crushes their confidence even further. As this line climbs, I think I'm more interested in Verona, but at a quarter, I feel like it's just like a home field advantage type situation, and I'm not rushing to back Verona at all. Sampdoria then hosts Fiorentina. Sampdoria, half a goal underdog at home. Fiorentina had to play a lot of their good players to make sure they got through the Conference League, and they're playing in Latvia, which is, I'm sure, not the easiest track to get back to Firenze. Sampdoria, though, on the other hand, are just really not a good team. They've been struggling for years, certainly look like a team that could go down and join their city neighbors and rivals in Serie B. But I don't know that it's necessarily going to happen just yet. Lean to Sampdoria getting that half of a goal, but I just don't really want to play it, even though I'd like to be against Fiorentina as much as I possibly can, I think. Roma then hosts Lazio and the Derby de Capitale, I think. Good luck. Correct me if I'm wrong at the real_G on Twitter. Tell me what I should call it. But Roma, half a goal favorite right now seems too big. Lazio have Sergej Milinkovic-Savic suspended. That's a big deal. He was not started in their last match against Salernitana to try to keep him available. Came on, subbed on late, got a yellow card, and then they ended up losing the match. Really everything that could go wrong did, and Lazio, I think, crashed out of Europe as well midweek. Should be pretty angry. You could potentially blame the eyes on this matchup. But ultimately, I mean, they're getting a half of a goal, and I feel like that's too high. All the juices on Lazio. Maybe this comes down to a quarter that I think would be appropriate, but ultimately in a shared stadium, I think Roma have the ticket advantage clearly here, or else this would be a much smaller number. But Lazio, they've been playing really well. Maybe it was a little bit fool's gold that they were leading the league in Serie A of not conceding. Then gave up 3 to Salernitana. The one seemed to be pretty late. But I still like them to be a really competitive match with Roma. And I just don't think Roma is this much better at all, especially in like a shared stadium type situation. So I lean Lazio getting a half. And last but not least, Juventus hosting Inter Milan. Currently Juve, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Similar line to last year when Inter were playing a lot better, but Juve were not as hurt and were not as in the doghouse or in the dumps, depressed, all those sort of adjectives. Lean to Juve. They played pretty well midweek against PSG in the Champions League. That's not great, though, because that'll zap some legs for sure. Inter, they went to Bayern Munchen and played a match that really didn't matter for them ultimately. Juve's did matter because they wanted to lock up Europa League, which is a sad story for that proud club, but ultimately they need to rebuild, and they're starting to play the kids more, which I like. I do worry a little bit about their inexperience in this matchup, though. So I like Juve getting that quarter. I'm not sure it's enough for me. So best bet for Italy, Italia. Lecce, I'd like to be higher. Nothing on the Sassuolo match. Nothing on Cremonese. I do like Atalanta getting a quarter at home. Nothing on Spezia or Bologna. Verona, not really. I don't like Sampdoria enough. I do like Lazio getting that half, but they've had a really tough week. And Juve, I don't think are good enough to make it. So I'll take Atalanta plus 1/4 home dog as my best bet against Napoli for Serie A. Now moving to Germany, we have a Friday match, Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting VfB Stuttgart. Currently Borussia Mönchengladbach, a quarter goal favorite at home. Juice is pretty even. I thought that Stuttgart might even close a half a goal underdog. Stuttgart are playing really well under a new manager. I think a lot of that's due to playing the worst team in the league, Bochum, and then a cup match, so they could score a ton of goals. I might have flipped the order of those two, but it worked pretty well. They got a good late winner. They put a ton of pressure on Augsburg last weekend, but ultimately got a late winner, which was important for them. Pushed my total, unfortunately, but there were 2 early goals, so maybe I'll walk out of there happy. The problem I'm looking at over under 3, and I feel like there's some really high totals in the Bundesliga that can be exploited. The problem is Gladbach's defense can sometimes be really, really bad. They gave up 2 late goals to Union Berlin after taking a lead last weekend. Filling in for Jan Sommer, they have a new goalkeeper who just doesn't look very good, trustworthy, or any of those sort of things. I feel like in the January transfer window, if Jan Sommer is going to be out for a long time, they might need to get someone to replace whoever's in there. And I wouldn't be shocked if a new goalkeeper is starting in this one. But Stuttgart are doing better offensively. Maybe confidence was all it took. I mean, I still don't necessarily believe in that offense quite a bit. I do believe in the speed of Silas on the wing, and I love seeing Borna Sosa coming in to do crosses from the left wing. That's maybe some stuff they were missing that can potentially boost that offense. But Gladbach's defense has been very problematic despite being a well-regarded club in Germany. So I lean to Stuttgart in that quarter at the moment. Moving to Saturday, Borussia Dortmund hosting Bochum. Currently, Borussia Dortmund, a 1.75 goal favorite with all the juice right now. Bochum, I'd like to back. I mean, they were a huge underdog in this matchup last year and went to Borussia Dortmund and won. Pretty incredible, but I don't know. I mean, they had a much better team last year. A lot of their loanees left. They didn't really keep some other players, and then they've been sitting bottom of the table. Fortunately, Schalke have been playing worse. Very fortunate for Borussia Dortmund because they love saying "Scheiße 0-4." Heard that a million times when I went to the match in the yellow wall. I just don't think Bochum I can back even with a +2 where it looks like this line is headed. Hertha Berlin then hosts Bayern München. Currently Hertha a 1.75 goal underdog at home. Bayern München are just an awesome team. They can throttle anybody. Hertha, I just don't really trust them to score. I know they're going to play tough and they're going to make this very hard on Bayern, but ultimately I don't want to get in the way of Super Bayern. Next we have Football Club Augsburg hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Currently Augsburg a 3/4 goal underdog at home. And they keep getting big numbers, but this isn't new. This is how it always goes. I do think that the strength of Augsburg is their defensive pressure now, which they didn't really have before. They basically were just to sit back and try to not get picked apart for 90 minutes. Eintracht Frankfurt have been playing so well, though. Had a really good performance midweek. We're almost winning their Champions League group, but got through to the next round. We're celebrating quite a bit. I imagine there might be a little bit of letdown here, though, and that certainly benefits Augsburg. I'd probably play Augsburg if I get +1. I do like under 3, especially with that push on the third goal. Lean to the home dog here. Not really sure what Eintracht is going to put out there, and we've seen them sometimes rest some players after a big midweek match, and we certainly had that this time. I don't know if there's going to be a big push for running up to the World Cup later in this month, but definitely going to keep my eyes peeled on that lineup. Mainz then hosts Wolfsburg. Only Mainz a 0.5 goal favorite at home. Wolfsburg with all the juice on the road, and Mainz, I mean, they've gotten a lot of respect from the marketplace. They've done pretty well in earning points, but I don't know if the performances have been there. But then they've been working in this new defensive back line. Their manager, Bo Svensson, was like rumored to be taking another job in England or something like that, has stuck around so far. They're tough, gritty, but Wolfsburg are pretty similar. And Niko Kovac, the more time he's had with this team, he's made them a lot better offensively. I think he's traded some defense for offense, but I do think that Wolfsburg getting a 0.5 goal is probably too big. It's very juiced right now, so it might come down to a quarter. I think a quarter is appropriate, but I also lean to that under 2.5. So there's been a few more goals in the Niko Kovac matches than I would have expected. I still feel like neither of these teams' offenses are very trustworthy, and that also makes me lean to Wolfsburg getting that half. TSC Hoffenheim then hosts RB Leipzig. Currently, Hoffenheim a 1/4 goal underdog at home with most of the juice. And Leipzig had a big match midweek. They crushed it in Poland, knocking out Shakhtar Donetsk. Sad story, but happened and makes sense. I think when I look at Hoffenheim, they're still a really good team. I think they haven't really had the performances or the results to match what they were looking for so far. We'll see where that ends up going, but Hoffenheim getting a quarter, I do like at home. Leipzig have historically really struggled on the road, and they just had to go to Poland, and they go back to Germany and have to go down south to Hoffenheim. It's not really a rabid atmosphere, but Hoffenheim play a lot better at home. They score a lot of goals there, so I like them as a home dog getting that quarter. Also like that they closed a favorite at Cologne last weekend. I feel like that says something that they're trending upwards. Werder Bremen then host Schalke, a 1-goal favorite. Schalke with all the juice right now. But I have no idea how you back Schalke. I mean, just hoping that they draw this 1-0. It's hard to see them scoring. I don't really trust Werder Bremen to score before the 80th minute, it seems. But if they get that first one, I really worry about Schalke. They're especially if it's an early goal, I feel like it gets really ugly because they've been playing so poorly and really don't have a manager or really a clue what they're doing at this point. Moving to Sunday, Bayer Leverkusen hosts Union Berlin. Leverkusen, a quarter goal favorite at home with most of the juice. That line makes no sense to me. Union, yeah, they had to go all out in Conference League midweek, or excuse me, Europa League midweek, but they are a better team than Leverkusen. The Leverkusen crowd is not intense, and Berlin, even if the Union version, even if the Eisen are rotating, I still like the metal, the power that they have in their team, the belief. Urs Fischer as a manager, I love Union getting that quarter. And then last but not least, Freiburg hosts Köln. Currently, Freiburg a 3/4 goal favorite at home with most of the juice, and that's a big number. But Freiburg got to rest everybody midweek, Köln had to play everybody. Had a big matchup with Nice yesterday on Thursday. So there's some concern there about, I think, the availability and kind of what that Cologne lineup looks like, especially considering it looked like they lost Florian Dietz for a while and leaves them with only one striker, really, and a striker who's not that potent. Freiburg as a 3/4 goal favorite, though, to a Europa League or a European team seems monstrous. For best bets in the Bundesliga and the German Bundesliga, I do like Stuttgart getting a quarter, skipping Bochum. Skipping Hertha. I do like Augsburg as a home dog. I like Wolfsburg, and I like the under 2.5 there as well. I like TSG Hoffenheim as a quarter goal underdog at home. Don't like Schalke. Love Union, and Cologne I think is bigger than I would have expected, but we'll see where that number goes and what the lineup looks like. For my best bet for the German Bundesliga, I will take Union Berlin, a quarter goal underdog on the road at Bayer Leverkusen. Last but not least, we'll move to French Ligue 1. Then I'll summarize with the best bets for each of the countries and then give an ultimate best bet. We have Troyes hosting Auxerre. This is a Friday matchup. Troyes, a 1/2 goal favorite. Most of the juice on Auxerre on the road. I don't know that I necessarily believe that Troyes are this much better than Auxerre. I think pretty much all the teams at the bottom of the table are pretty similar, but they did play really well against PSG and so they could score. Auxerre, I feel like their offense has not been good enough. And they haven't really gotten much respect in the road. So might be one I stay away from, but lean to Auxerre on Friday. Ajaccio then hosts Strasbourg. Currently Ajaccio a pick 'em right now. Most of the juice on Strasbourg on the road, as it should be. Ajaccio can't really score, but Strasbourg can't win matches. So I don't really know what you do with this one at pick 'em. Probably you stay away. Angers then hosts Racing Club de Lens. Racing Club de Lens. Angers, a 3/4 goal underdog at home. And I don't really think you want anything to do with them until they hit +1. And I don't know that they will. Lens are really scary to fade. They're a play-only team almost at this point for me, unless they're playing someone really good and a favorite. Moving to Sunday, Lorient hosts PSG. Lorient, a 1 3/4 goal underdog, and Paris Saint-Germain are really, really talented. I think they're a 1B to the Manchester City 1A. And I was looking at their UCL Champions League title odds a little bit more than I probably should have been recently, because I do like them quite a bit as they were priced third, but I feel like problem is they are probably going to get an English team in the second round or in the first round of the knockouts, and that's not great. Anyway, Lorient have been playing awesome. They've been somehow surviving without their top goal scorer, Terrell Murphy, but had a tough result last weekend, falling behind or taking a lead and then ultimately giving up an equalizer and then losing to Nice. And that's going to be tough. I think that was at home too. PSG's a really tough team to fade. I like the Lorient strategy. They're going to sit back, defend, and try to counter. Something they did 2 seasons ago. Didn't really do very well last year, but then have kind of reinstilled it this year. I want to see if Terran Murphy is in. If he is, that makes me more interested, and certainly more interested if Lorient hit +2, but it's not there yet. Nice then hosts Brest. Currently Nice a 3/4 goal favorite. Brest with all the juice right now on the road. And Nice had a really big match midweek in the Conference League, so I like the situation for Brest. And I don't think Nice have certainly been playing better, and that win against Lorient matters, but I don't know that I trust them just yet, and I don't really like Lucien Favre, their manager. Clermont Foot then hosts Montpellier. Clermont a 1/4 goal favorite at home, but all the juice is actually on Montpellier on the road. Clermont have not been loved by the market. They've outperformed, I think, expectations. Montpellier, on the other hand, have just been really bad, unlucky, I think, some ways, but kind of how it goes. And their defense is pretty bad. Their offense can score goals, but their defense is still so poor, unfortunately. I probably, based on just the market intentions, I think should lead Montpellier here, but I'm not even sure I want anything to do with it. Reims then host Nantes. Currently, Reims a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. New manager's done better with them, but they still have, like, I think they were goalless last week. They still have a lot of those in them. Nantes, on the other hand, had to play in the Europa League midweek, and might have even survived and gotten through. I didn't finish the Quarterback Freiburg match just yet, but I think they did, as they won midweek. That matters a lot, but I also then wonder what that does for the legs and who's going to be available, all that sort of stuff. I don't think that Reims necessarily, if they climb to a half a goal favorite, though, I'll definitely lean to Nantes. Toulouse then hosts Monaco. Toulouse, a quarter goal underdog at home, just getting a ton of respect, but it's deserved. The Ligue 2 champions have been really good and look like a mid-table, if not higher, side in Ligue 1 this season. Monaco had to play midweek. It went pretty well at home against Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade, and I think they got through to the next round, but it wasn't sealed, and they had to play their best player. I think Kevin Volland had a hat trick. So he probably starts this weekend. I'm not sure what that does for the balance of Briel Embolo and also Usam Ben Yedder. But ultimately, I like Toulouse getting that quarter at home. I don't know if that's enough for me right now, and no real interest. I think over 3 would probably lean on be on that one. Lille hosts Rennes. Currently, Lille a quarter goal favorite. Rennes with all the juice and are playing so much better. Lille a little bit of a downturn lately. Their young goalkeeper's looking a little bit, he's starting to wobble a little bit after starting off the year really well, being a very scary part of that team. Rennes have been on fire, but Martin Terrier, I think, is missing this matchup and might not be back until the World Cup. So that's a big deal. He's been awesome and so efficient scoring these big chances, or scoring from little chances, but scoring big goals. I do like Rennes getting that quarter at Lille, because I just feel like their offense plays no matter where they go. And I think it's going to be tough for Lille to manage and hang with that speed, especially with Jose Font, who just seems to be getting older and older by the second. I mean, we all are, but I think he's 38 years old. And last but not least, the Olympique Derby, Marseille hosting Lyon. Marseille, a quarter goal favorite at home, crashed out of all forms of Europe. So they are very angry. I don't know that they really wanted to go to the Europa League, but they had had the Champions League knockouts in their sights, didn't get it. And they were in good position to do it, unfortunately, but Tottenham were too good and they gave up a goal late that really cost them a substantial amount of money, I would think. But anyway, Marseille, quarter goal favorite. Lyon have been playing a lot better. They were outplayed, I thought, by Lille, but got a good goal from Lacazette, who's been so good and so efficient and scoring really well under this new manager. And I'll take some notes on that one. It should be a fierce environment. Marseille will get a ton of energy from their crowd. I want to see where this line goes, but it doesn't look like it's getting to a half, so it might be one that I don't end up touching any further. To recap the Ligue 1 leans for this match day 13, I'm calling it. The numbers are all over the place, all over the board. But anyway, 13 is where we're at. Alger getting a half, I do like, but not a ton. Nothing in the Ajaccio match, nothing in Angers. Lorient, I like if they get to 2, but I don't even know if I like that much. I do like Brest at Nice getting 3/4. I also like Montpellier a little bit, but they're too tough to back, I think, at this point. Nantes, I want to get to a half. It's not there yet. Toulouse at a quarter. I do like as a home dog to Monaco. I like Rennes getting a quarter on the road at Lille. And then Lyon, I like getting that quarter from Marseille. In terms of best bet for France, for Ligue 1 for this week, I'm going to go with, I guess I'll go Toulouse, a quarter goal underdog at home. I feel like a draw is possible against Monaco. I think a win is possible as well. Monaco might be rotating a little bit and might kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit looking at a Ligue 2 champion. They should not overlook Toulouse because they have been really good to start the year. So just to, I guess, now recap the best bets for each country, and then ultimately try to grab a ultimate best bet winner for all of you this weekend. From the English Premier League, it was, I don't remember, it was a few minutes ago, but I don't remember already. It was Tottenham getting a quarter at home to Liverpool. In La Liga, it is Mallorca +1 at Villarreal. Italian Serie A, it was Atalanta getting a quarter from Napoli. In the German Bundesliga, it was Union Berlin getting a quarter at Leverkusen. And then last but not least, in Ligue 1, it is Toulouse getting a quarter. So to summarize and see how well I can regurgitate and remember, Tottenham plus a quarter. In Spain, it was Mallorca +1. In Italy, it was Atalanta getting a quarter. In the German Bundesliga, it was Union getting a quarter. And in French Ligue 1, it was Toulouse getting a quarter at home. I do like home dogs a lot. I've been trying to kind of push in that direction as much as possible lately. But I'm going to go for my best bet, the ultimate best bet for this episode. It is Union Berlin getting a quarter of a goal on the road at Bayer Leverkusen. And that'll do it for this episode. 45 minutes in the books. The real underscore G Warner on Twitter. If you want to interact, send me a DM, slide us a DMs, got some questions, comments, theories. I'll listen to them all, especially as we're getting towards a little bit of a quiet period as we head into the World Cup. You can follow me on Twitter, as I mentioned, the real underscore G Warner. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please like, subscribe, so you get it right in your inbox, on your phone, wherever it's coming right away. I assume the same thing happens on Spotify, though I haven't been a huge user there. And then YouTube, still need like 1,000 subscribers before I start really jumping into making some edits and putting some pretty things on the screen here. And this, in case anyone was wondering, this is a South African soccer jersey from an airport, and it's really deteriorated over the years, just like all of our bodies. And we'll look forward to the next deterioration schedule. I think we got some midweek matches coming up next week. Thanks for joining, and I will talk to you all soon.
Oh yeah, the scene in the moment. That's a good ball. Yeah, so the hook scheme. Thanks, Paul. Yes, Alexandrova, which was vertical dangerous. The looks deep, feeling the pressure. He's picked out McDowell. Dangerous at the moment. Yeah, McDowell. It's away with him. He's being followed by 70. Avisha. Capiazza 30. In front of him, but the full ball from Capiazza. Small hole and down. So Bologna show that class and they're able to knock it around.